How do you learn to play the piano without reading sheet music? Reading doesn't mean understanding. So you can learn to read sheet music, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you understand how music works. For many people, put in a lot of hard work to learn how to read sheet music, which is a valuable skill, but it takes a long time, and they don't necessarily know why that music sounds the way it does. Why does it give me the feeling that it gives me? What is happening in this song that makes it what it is? How am I going to replicate that or even expand upon the idea of this song without necessarily it being on the sheet music? Those skills are things that don't happen just from learning notation. You need to learn about something called harmony. Reading sheet music is a skill, but it is often confused with the skill of piano playing, and they are not one and the same. Pianists who only learn pieces from reading sheet music can have a one-dimensional understanding of piano music. They will understand how to follow instructions and read off the page, but all too often they don't understand the harmony behind what they're playing or how to expand on what they're playing. If you took the sheet music away, could they interpret the music to take it in their own unique direction? Probably not. And this brings me to a really important point with learning to play the piano creatively. We must learn to listen and understand music before we learn to read. Just like with babies, they don't learn how to read and write before they learn to understand their home language or learn to speak it, right? So we want to learn to understand music, learn to play it, and speak the language of music before we learn to read. Now, the best way to learn music and learn about harmony without having to learn how to read notation is to learn by ear. When we use our ear to learn songs, we are internalizing the music because it's literally going in our ears, in our brain. We have to think about it. Normally we also sing it so it comes back out, our vocal cords, and then we are learning it on the piano. And that act of internalizing it and seeing the keys that we play and using our knowledge of harmony to understand the keys that we're playing is, in my mind, one of the best ways to learn how to play the piano creatively. The three things that you need to learn in order to play by ear and understand music is scales, which we use to identify keys. You need to learn chords so that you can identify the harmony, and you need to do some ear training, which is what we use to identify riffs and rhythms, and also intervals, which are the distance between two notes. So when we know the distance between two given notes, then we can start with one note on the keyboard and find the next note in the melody by its interval, and then we can find the next note by that interval. And so it's a really great skill to develop. So we have chords, scales, and ear training, the three things that we need to learn and work on in order to play by ear and not have to read sheet music. So you might be asking, where do I start? Well, if you're a complete beginner, I recommend you get into learning those basics, learning about scales, how to play them on the keyboard, learning the main types, major and minor. You also want to learn your navigation around the keyboard. In fact, you're going to want to learn the layout of the keyboard, how to number your fingers to quickly learn new patterns, the small steps we use in music called intervals, as I mentioned before, the distance between two notes. You're going to want to learn the finger techniques used to play scales, and you're going to want to be able to play major and minor scales from anywhere on the keyboard, and understand what a key is, the key of a song, without having to look at key signatures and figure out all the sharps and flats. So this is all a part of my course at the Super Basics. You guys can get into that if you like. It's got all of those things, as I mentioned, and it also has some bonuses. You get my ebook on how to learn piano online effectively, as well as my weekly piano planner and practice tips to help you get the most out of your practice. Most people don't really know how to practice properly, so this is really a super useful bonus. If you want to go and enroll today, you can go to pianopartner.com/superbasics. Use this code FASTACTION35 for a 35% discount. The reason I recommend that new pianists learn in this way instead of learning to read sheet music is that it's easier to learn about music theory, and harmony, when you're unencumbered by having to memorize what it looks like on the page. Reading music is a valuable skill to learn, but not essential to be able to learn piano songs and become a great creative pianist. So it should be treated as an upskill rather than a foundational one. Remember to always play it like you mean it, and I'll see you later.